All right. So I try to cover it within 1 hour 15 minutes, and the rest of the 15 to 20 minutes we will devote to answering queries of the participants.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You will continue with Professor, please. Thank you very much.
So it's over to Dr.
Okay, so I'll thank you, ma'am, and good morning, all the participants. Okay, so our today's topic of discussion is or error handling, and then later on we will also talk about working with date and timing. This session, in the first session, we will talk about exception handling features of Python. So let's start the discussion and first try to understand what are errors. So you might have heard this term, many a times, error, my program is encountering error. So what error is? Error basically a mistake that you commit in the program, and because of that mistake you are either not able to run your program, or your program may produce wrong results. So that is an error, a mistake in your program, and because of that mistake you are not able to run the program, and if the program is running you are getting wrong results or bad results. So this is the basic definition. And if you go through the literature of errors, you will see that we have categorized errors into certain categories, into certain types. So there are certain types of errors. Like you might be knowing that one type of error is syntax error. Now, what are syntax errors? So syntax errors are the errors that occur due to non-compliance of a programming language rule. That means to say, if you are not following the rule of a particular programming language, then you are going to encounter this. You will, you'll have to face this syntax error. And the examples can be, let's say, you are working in C, you are writing a program in C or C++, and you forgot to put semicolon at the end of a executable statement. So in that case, compiler will show you an error, and that error would be a syntax error. Similarly, in any programming language, if you are trying to use a variable that has not yet been declared, so that will also result in syntax error. And if you are using incorrect punctuations, so these kind of things, those will also result in syntax errors. Now, one of the important characteristics of syntax error is that they can be found by the compiler. We will later on talk about logical errors. A compiler cannot find logical errors, but the characteristic of syntax error is that they can be found by the compiler. And another characteristic is that you cannot run the program unless you correct the syntax errors. But in contrast, if we talk about logical errors, you will be able to run the program if your program contains logical errors, because these are not going to be detected by the compilers. So if we compare syntax errors with logical errors, then syntax errors are easy to find and easy to correct also. Why? Because compiler will show you. In Python also, when you will commit some mistake, if you are trying to, let's say, use a variable that has not been yet declared, and that in that case the Python system will show you an error message. When you will try to run the program, it will show certain messages. It will highlight where is the problem. So in that sense, syntax errors are easy to find and easy to correct. But logical errors, because they happen due to error in your logic. So that's why they cannot be corrected because they happens because of flaw in your logic. So that's why they cannot be detected by the compiler, and it may be very difficult to find them. So again, as I already told, if a program contains logical errors, you will be able to run your program. So that may give you an indication, okay, your program is working fine, there is no mistake, there is no flaw in your program, but that may not be true. Because mistake exists in your logic. Let's say you intended to do addition, but by mistake you put the negative sign. Or let's say you intended to do a simple division, but you by mistake executed that floor division. So compiler or interpreter cannot find these kinds of mistakes, but what you will get is the wrong output or the bad results. So from there you get an indication, okay, something is wrong. So that mistake is not due to some non-compliance of programming language rule. Means there is no syntax error, but mistake is something else. So then solution, you go through each and every line, you try to find out where you have committed the logical mistake. So logical errors may be difficult to work with. Now, third syntax error we have discussed, logical error also I have talked about. Third category is runtime errors. Now, runtime errors are the errors that occur at runtime. So it's clear from their name itself. That means you can counter a mistake while running the program. Means when the program is running. And in that case, the system shows you the complete stack trace also if you encounter such algorithm, such mistake. Runtime errors are also called exceptions. So if you see the literature of error handling or exception handling, so many times authors have defined the runtime errors as the exceptions. Now, compared to syntax errors and logical errors, these can be very dangerous. Now, why I'm using this term, these runtime errors or exceptions can be very dangerous for your program. See, their characteristic is that they are occurring at runtime. Runtime also means, let's say you have developed the application and you have deployed it at the customer end. Now your customer is using the application in the real environment, the real life environment. So at that point, at that moment of time, if an error occurs, so this may cause disastrous consequences for the client or for the customer. Because when we say we are dealing with syntax errors, okay, the program has not yet been deployed at the customer end. Logical errors, okay, you will do testing, so there you may find logical errors, but there may be the cases that you skip certain runtime errors because you couldn't produce that situation in the lab where you were writing the program. But now when you have deployed the program at the customer end, the application is running at the customer end, so if their runtime errors are happening or exceptions are occurring, so these may cause very dangerous consequences for your client. So that's why this very topic, exceptional handling or error handling, is very important to understand. So let's start the discussion on error handling or exception handling. Then so first try to understand what kind of messages we get from the Python system side. If I commit certain mistakes, let's say if I write print 5 and I execute the statement like this only. So here you will see that compiler has indicated, so this Python system has indicated that your line, your code is containing an error, and that error is syntax error. So I've highlighted this thing. So your system knows that this is a syntax error. You have not followed the rule. The system is able to identify. So it is saying unexpected end of file while parsing. So in that case, okay, when we were saying that they are easy to work with, they are easy to find because your system will tell you are encountering an error, and you will get the idea where the problem is, and you can move towards correction. Let's have another example. I am just writing print 1 plus 1. Definitely there is no error, no mistake with this statement. If I execute it, okay, this program will work fine. Okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. And if I say print 1 plus true, okay, I am trying to combine two different data types. So again, compiler can, your system can resolve this issue, and still there are no errors, and 1 plus true is producing 2. But okay, there are two different data types, but let's make it string now. 1 plus, then in quotes, true. So now you will see that your system has highlighted again an error, and that error is type error. And you see it's giving you certain hints what kind of problem you are encountering. Supported operand types for plus, integer, and string. So these are unsupported operand types. Your system cannot proceed with adding one integer value and another string value. Similarly, one more example. Let's say if I write def, and let's say I am defining a function hello like this, and I try to execute. So here also you will get an error, and that error is error because you forgot to write some semicolon over here. But if you write it like this, okay, you will see no error. One more thing, let's say I am trying to print 1 plus let's say name. Now if you try to execute this statement, now you are getting an error, but this error is very much different from the previous error. So previously what we executed was print 1 plus true. So see, here you are using 1 plus 2, integer plus string, and the kind of error you are encountering is different. Okay, this was a type error because you cannot add integer into string. But here when you execute statements like this, print 1 plus name is not a string because the system itself doesn't know what kind of name variable is big, because you have not declared it, you have not specified any value to this. So the type of error will be different. It's going to be a different error, name error. Name is not defined. So the point I am trying to highlight with you is that so there are different categories, types of all the foreign syntax errors complying to certain language, but the name from the name it must be clear to you that what kind of problem you are encountering. We will see certain more examples like if I say, let's say I am declaring a list, li is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and if I try to execute it, okay, it will work fine. But what will happen if I try to execute this statement? li 8 is equal to 9. Now here also you will get an error, and now again the type of error has changed. Again it is syntax error, but the specific kind of error you are encountering is the index error. So index error exists when you are dealing with a list and you are trying to access the value at an index which doesn't exist. Besides list, if you are dealing with the dictionary, and let's say you have defined a dictionary like this, dictionary is equal to a colon 1. If you have gone through the concept of dictionary, you might be knowing that dictionaries store values in stores data in the form of key value pairs. So here A is the key and 1 is the value. It's the key value pair. A is the key, 1 is the value. If I execute it like this, okay, it will work fine. But again, if I try to execute this statement dictionary, and if I try to access an unspecified undefined index dictionary B, then again you will get an error, and that error is the key error. There is some problem with the key of the dictionary. So like this, if you try to divide some number by 0, let's say I'm trying to divide 5 by 0, and if I execute this, you will get a different kind of error, and now this error is 0 division error. Okay. So now in your free time, you can go to the Python official Python website, and there you can see what different kinds of errors under the syntax category are there in the Python system. So there you will find all these terms: 0 division error, or key error, or type error, or index error, or so many other types of error. So the list is really very big, but you know, it is always good if you can spare some time, 5 to 10 minutes, and just scroll down what different kind of errors are there. So let me just give you an idea. Okay, these are the different categories of errors in the Python system, and how to deal with them. Uh, me, you know, delete all these things, and we'll start with the new code. Pay attention to this. I am saying age is equal to input, enter your age, and that's it. And print age. Now, what will happen when you run the program? Okay, fine. The system is asking you about your age. If you know, mention an integer value, if you input an integer value, okay, system will behave like this. Enter your age 78, and it will display 78. Let's run it again. And now I am entering the age as by any garbage value. Let's say by UI. Now what will happen? What do you think? The problem, you will get a problem or something else? There is some problem. Let me restart the kernel. So there is some problem with my system, I think. Yes, now it is running. Now let's try to enter a string value, and yes, the system will display that string like this. Your age, and you entered any garbage value, because see, age is an integer value, but here you entered a string. Has entered that. Enter your age, you entered some string, and the system is displaying that string. So see, these types of things are not good. If you have written a code like this is a bad tool. Why? Because you must be knowing, okay, age is an integer, your system must accept an integer value, and if you are trying to add input a string value, then your system must show an error, or your system must handle it in a different way. So how you can get around this problem is, one thing that you can do is you can write age is equal to integer, and then you can put this statement, input, enter your age, inside that integer method or function. So what this thing will do, this will try to convert whatever you have entered into integer, and then age will be printed. Okay, so let's run it. If I run it and enter a integer, let's say 67, okay, the program will work fine. Why? Because your program was able to convert, was able to accept that integer value. You really entered an integer value. This is what your program was expecting. That 67 initially got entered as a string, but your system was able to convert that 67, which is in string, into integer, because you used that integer function, the same thing got printed. But what will happen now if I add some string value, let's say y. Now here you are getting an error, and error is that this value error. You'll see invalid literal from integer with base 10, this 6. So system is not able to understand. You are trying to convert that string value into integer because you are using this function, but your system is unable to do that. So again, how you can deal with this situation? So here we can bring the concept of the error handling or exception handling in Python system. Now in Python system, we have certain keywords that we use under the exception handling topic. So let me give you a brief idea of those keywords first. So first keyword is try call. Now under try block, you write those statements which you want to check for certain kinds of error, which you think can be problematic. So here those statements which you think might contain error or may result in runtime errors. So you put those statements. So is basically you're trying these statements, you're trying to execute these statements, and you are looking for errors or problems with this code. Now, if a problem arises, then the system can move to this like this. So like this. So what will happen? Your system and try. If there is no problem with these statements, okay, everything will go fine. System will not enter into this. But if wrong with the statements that you have specified under try, then system will enter this block except. Just like if statement, you can check for, okay, if this is the value of variable, then do this thing. So similarly, along with this except statement, you can mention the type of exception as well, like except exception 1. So you must be knowing the type of exception. If this exception is occurring, then these statements will get executed. So that means to say you are handling exception 1 in a particular way. But if you think that you may encounter other types of exceptions as well, then the code will be like this: except exception 2, and the code to handle exception 2 will go over here. Like so, now try to understand. Okay, under the try, we are specifying the statements which may contain certain errors at end time, which may produce errors at the runtime. So you are handling, you want to handle those exceptions. So if really things really go bad at the runtime, then a particular exception is raised, and the system will check that what kind of exception has been raised, and accordingly that except block will get executed. In Python system, there is one more keyword, that is the finally. So that also you can use at the last, like this. So we'll talk about one more thing is that portion can also be specified over here. That means to say, okay, if no exception is occurring, okay, then the code which you have mentioned over here as this block will go executed. So you are trying to execute, but trying, okay, no, and in that case else part will also get executed. So now we are now we would be using this concept, try except kind of blocks to handle this situation that we are in case, in each case. So what I will do now, okay, I'll put this statement under the try block. And I'll also create an except block like this, except print, let's say there was problem with the age you enter okay. And finally, let's say we are printing over here, print hi. Now, if I run this code and I enter an integer value 78, okay, the program will, this code will work fine because the system was able to convert 78 into integer, 78 string into integer, and this exception is not executed. Why? Because no, and you got this result, and ultimately at the end, I got printed. Okay. Now, let me enter any garbage value. Now, see what the system is saying. There was some problem with the age you entered. Please recheck and enter again. Now, if you really want to, execute enter again, one thing is that you can execute the code again, but enter some string, system will again show this message. There was some problem with your age. But I can put all these things under the while block also. Let's say while true. And now I need to do proper indentation also. Let's select. Now, what will happen? I will use break over here also. Now, if I enter okay, 89 this value, and the program will run like this. But if I enter now there was a problem with your age because your system was not, Python system was not able to convert this string ffgg ghfg into integer, and got accept block system this system has not terminated. Your program has not terminated got terminated properly. Now it is showing you a message. Okay, there was some problem with your please re-enter again. If you go on and bring in string value, okay, system will say for you. And the moment you will specify an integer, okay, the program will gracefully. So here demonstrate we because if you are not putting these statements, you see earlier what was happening. The system was showing an error, type error, value error, these depending on the error in your statement that you put in the try block. But if you are handling the things in a proper way, like you mentioned the try block and the accept block, then your system, your program will get the ability to terminate the program in this way. So what we have demonstrated just now, termination of the program. Actually, we try to terminate the problem. We go on asking the value from the user again and again. We are not terminating, but if you remove this while loop, then program terminated, and that actually is the graceful termination. Okay, so this was the thing I demonstrated to you. Now, in this code, use this combination of try or try to else part also. You can use this combination. Try, except, else, and let's code like this. Now I will mention the else part also. Else print thank you, and here let's say bye. Now let's run this program, and I'll enter in integer value. Now try to understand the flow control in what order the statement got executed. Okay, first this statement got executed, you entered the age value, which was an integer. System was able to convert that 78 string into an integer, and okay, then break happened, and that's why that thank you was not executed. Now if I write it like this, yes sir. So you see, earlier you mentioned break, and your system, your control came out of this loop, and straightway this byte got printed. Now what's happening? You are entering age. System is printing age. This 88. After that, it is not going into the accept block because no error occurred. But this else part is definitely executed, right? Because you didn't encounter any problem. So try to understand the purpose of this else block. If there is no problem in the statement in that I block, that means to say if your system has not set a block, then else part will be like in this case there was no problem, system didn't, and this else part got executed, and you are getting the output like this. But now you have encountered another problem. After printing thank you, again your system has gone into the infinite loop. Again you need to enter these things repeatedly. But if you will enter a string value, then system will say there was a problem with your age and please recheck. Okay, so we need to correct this thing also. Now the only thing for me is to interrupt the kernel because because I have entered into a infinite loop. Actually, I should have used break over here, and now if I try to run the program, okay, the kernel is still running. So again, we need to interrupt, restart the kernel. Now it will take some time to restart. So let's simply wait for some time. Yes. Now see, the system has printed this statement also, this print statement also, thank you, and then it has printed by like this. Now what we will do, we will try to see how to handle specific error. So that will say in the accept class, now we will handle specific error. So what I will do now is I will copy this code. Okay, and over here I'll simply write 100 over age. Now see what will happen if I run the program. Okay, if I give number, the program is running fine. If I enter string, okay, system will go on asking me to enter the age again. till I, really enter an integer value and the program will terminate properly. What will happen if I enter age value as equal to 0? See, again, the system is saying there was some problem with the age you entered, please recheck. Again, now, not only string, you also cannot enter a zero value. You need to enter a value which is greater than 0, and in only that case your, then the program will come out of this infinite loop. Now, when this statement got executed, 100 over age, a different kind of exception. And earlier, when you were entering in string value, and when the system was not able to convert that string value into integer value, different kind of exception occurred. Now here you can specifically mention what kind of exception you are handling. For example, if I say value error, now here I can change the message as you are not entering integer, value error, and I will accept section like this, accept zero division error. Here now I will print age cannot be 0. Now what will happen if you try to enter a string? See, system is displaying this message. You are not entering an integer value. Please enter an integer. Why? Because a specific kind of exception occurred, and that was the value error, because you were not entering an integer, and then system displayed this message. And because you are in the infinite loop, okay, again system will ask you again, if you enter some integer, system will say you are not entering an integer value. Now, if you enter 0, what will happen? 0 is an integer value. So this statement must not got executed. Let's see what happened. Now see, system is saying 0, age cannot be 0. Now system is not executing this statement. You are not entering an integer value. Rather, system is executing this statement, print age cannot be 0, because of this thing, 100 over age. System encountered a different problem. System didn't encountered a value error. System encountered the zero division error, and this portion got executed. Again, because you are in infinite loop, system is again asking you to enter the value again. Now if you will enter 0 again, that message will get printed. If you are entering string, okay, this message will get printed. The moment you will enter the correct value, the program will then terminate, and this break will also occur, and you will come out of the infinite loop. So what I demonstrated over here now is how you can use specific kind of exceptions along with this except keyword. Accept value error, accept zero division error, or accept type error, or accept any other type of error. So you can take different actions on encountering the different kinds of errors. So this is how you can deal with multiple kinds of errors. If you suspect your statements to have to encounter multiple types of error, and you want to take a different actions depending on that error, then you have to organize your code like this. Now, what will happen if I, if I mention this except value error, statement 2 times, print again. So if you will run this program and you enter this value, see this statement is never getting executed. So this also means that you should not write multiple except block with the same kind of error, because if you have this kind of situation, then only the first block will be executed and the system will ignore this second block. So this is what got demonstrated in this example. So you must put all the statements over here on the encountering of this error, value error. You should not try to create multiple except value error kind of blocks. Now we will see how we will deal with exceptions and functions. Function, and we see how exceptions can be handled within the function. Def sum number 1, number 2, and let's say return number 1 plus number 2. That's it. And here try to print sum. You run this program. Okay, this program will run fine. You will get output as 3. But if I write print sum 1, 2, now what will happen? Run it. Okay. So in this case also your program has got executed, but rather than producing 3, because you entered 2 string values 1 and 2, system has concatenated them, and the output is 12. Obviously, you don't want that thing to happen. And let's see if I execute statement sum 1 comma 2. What will happen now? Now see, now in this case, when you are calling this sum function like this, you will get an error, and that is the type error. Now the question is whether you should handle the problematic statements over here or within the function. Obviously, it makes sense if we try to handle this problematic situation over here. Here we should write the try block. So under the write block, this statement return number 1 plus number 2 must do. And here the except statement, let's say except. Now because we are dealing with type error, so here now I will write in the except type error, and here print please enter a number. Now if you will run the program like this, okay, the system is saying please enter a number. You have not entered a number. You are getting this none message because this function has not returned anything. Let's say return this thing, and now the program will run fine. So again, this was the case of graceful termination. You made a call like this, your system has not shown an error, it simply said okay, please enter a number, and your program is terminated. So this is the usage of exception handling. Now, another thing that you can do over here is you can also display more information. Display will demonstrate display more info about an error. So what I can do over here is where I've written except type error, I can write except type error as ERR, and here in this block I can print information about that ERR like this, print ERR. And now if I run, see, it is not simply saying please enter a number, it is also displaying information about the errors. And the system is now saying can only concatenate string or string, not integer, to string. And do a little experiment now. Rather than the first argument be string, let the second argument be string. So now let's try to see what happens. It is saying unsupported operand types. So see, this also demonstrate okay how the system handles the situation different ways. So there is a difference between these two statements. First argument integer, then string, first string, then integer. So in both the cases you would be getting different error information. See this error information. In first case it was unsupported operand types, and in the second case it was can only concatenate string. So that's why it is always a good idea if you display more information about the error. So wherever you are catching the error, like here in except type error, okay, obtain this object error and you should display it. So this is always good practice to do the coding like this. Now one more thing that you can do over here is okay, you can combine different errors like this, like type error, comma 0, division error as this. Okay, so let's say here I write num1 divided by num2, and if our number 2 is 0, so what will happen? See, your system is displaying because you are encountering different kind of errors. Now your system is displaying different messages. See, in the first case the error code is this for this statement. For this function call some integer string value and then integer value, this error message was this thing unsupported type. And for this function call sum 1 0, because here you are dividing number 1 by number 2 and number 2 is 0, a different kind of error occurred, and that error is this error, not the type error. The error is 0 division error. You caught it in error and error got displayed and it is saying this is division by 0 error. So this example also demonstrated that how you can combine different kind of errors in a single except statement. And here we will also demonstrate the usage of another keyword finally. Now, how finally will function? So once you have specified all the except blocks, okay, else block also you can write as we demonstrated previously. So in else you can simply say print thank you, and in finally then you write print okay, I'm finally done. Now if you try to run this program, see it is saying Okay, unsupported operand time. Okay, finally I am done. Okay, finally I am done. Okay, finally I am done. So that means to say, whatever is the situation, whether you have encountered a problem or not, whether you have encountered an error or not, this statement, the statements that you have mentioned in the final block, this will be always executed. Let's make a successful function call also, like print sum 3,4. So you see, if you are encountering problems of whatever kind, okay, I am finally done, finally block. Every case, for example, for example, if you want to free the resources, say in this sum block, you allocated a memory to certain value variables. You reserved some portion of the memory for doing your work. And when you are now going out of this function, you want to ensure that you have freed that memory space. So in order to free that memory space, you need to execute certain statements. Then create an exception class, your own exception class, and let's that class be, let's say, my exception. But you need to extend your exception class from the base exception class, which is exception in this case. So class my exception, what I am telling to the system in this case, I am going to create my own exception class, my exception, and I'm inheriting that class from the exception based class. Raise my exception with level. Now, because we are just demonstrating how we can create our own exception, and then later on how we can raise those exceptions, I have specified a functionality in my function like this, that my function will accept an integer value level, and whenever the value of that level variable is less than 1, I want to raise this exception. Now, sorry. What will happen if I call this my function like this? Obviously, because I am handling errors, I would be putting these statements under the try block. Now, one more change you need to make is, because when you are making a call to my exception, class like this, my exception level. So here you also need to mention the level value also. Not over here, but in the init function. So I'll not write pass now over here, rather I will say def underscore underscore init self comma level, because I am calling this exception class with level value. And inside the code, I'll write self dot level is equal to level. Okay. Now my function 9, this call I have put into the try block and except. Now in except, now I can make use of my exception, because this my exception is my own exception. So I can write it like this: except my exception as error, let's say print cached invalid level. Why? Because this my exception is only raised when there is a problem with the level. So inside this except block, we can write print invalid level when this exception, my exception, is raised. And I can print the value pertaining to this error, ERR, like this. And else, if there are no errors, I will say print successful call. And let's try to run this code now. Now see, when you are executing your function with this parameter 9 attribute, because this level is not less than 1, level value is not less than 1, so this exception is not going to be raised. So if this exception is not raised, your system will not enter this block, print cached invalid level or print error. Rather, else portion will get executed. So what the system will display inside the function level is fine, and this successful call, that's it. Now try to understand the functionality. What will happen if I enter the value, is -9, a value less than 0. Now system will display this message cached invalid level -9. How? Let me explain. When you made this call function -9, okay, system checked for this condition, level is -9, -9 is less than 1, okay, then what has happened? System has raised this exception with level value. So my exception with -9 got called. So that -9 was passed over here, self comma -9. So this my exception has been raised, and this my exception also has information about the level. So when this exception got raised, because you put this statement into the try block, so this statement, these statements will now be executed, because your system has really encountered this my exception, and the information about the expression you got in the error object. And you printed this thing cached invalid level. So this got printed cached invalid level, and print error. And error information was the information about this level. Then -9 also got printed. So this demonstrated how we can create our own exceptions and raise them. I hope that this thing must be clear to you. How we can create our own exception, how we can use them in the except. So this is basically creating exception class. This is about raising our on obviously you can raise any exception. You can raise this high level exception class also. But see the parts: creating our own exception class, raising our own exceptions like this, and here the code for handling our own exception. And this handling part you have also mentioned over here, level. So level was printed over here. So see the different parts of this very example, how you can create your own exceptions, how you can create your own exception class, how the object of that class can be created, how that object can be raised, and how you can make use of your own exception class in the try except block, like in the third portion. So this is a very good example to make the concepts about creating your own exceptions classes clear. So I hope that this thing is clear to you, creating your own exceptions. Now another, because I think you have already gone through that topic, file handling. So exception handling becomes important in file handling also when you are dealing with file, when you are reading or writing files. So let me give you a very simple example of a file handling and exception. File handling and exceptions. So please pay attention to this code. Using try file handle, let's say is equal to 1, and I'll pass the name of any file. There's some any garbage value, and let's say I'm trying to open this file in read mode, and I say print fh read, and I want to the first file by, and except but it will go say if there is an so like many other types of error is your input output error, and you will encounter it okay when there was some input output related problem pertaining to your file, because you are opening a file. So if there is any problem related to the input or output of that reading or writing aspect of that file, then this error will be raised, except IO error. Here I can write print error can't find file for reading, because I'm opening the file for reading, and now if there is an error, this message must get printed: error can't find file for reading, else print read the file successfully and fh dot close. Now if I run this code, see what will happen. You will encounter this error: cannot find file for reading. Why? Because this thing never got created in my file system. This file ts something. Okay, now name, so this is happening because of this thing. So let me actually you should write this statement over here. Here you are opening and you must close the file handle over here. So you see error can't find the file for reading. Why? Because obviously I specified a random name, and a file with this name obviously doesn't exist on my system, and the system got this error, raised this exception IO error, and this thing got printed: error can't find a file for reading. So again, this was another case of graceful termination. Because if you are not handling the exception, the input output error, if you simply write this code, let's say you are opening this file, printing, and then closing, so you see, you try to compare, this code with this code. So the same lines we have written over here also, but because we have written these lines in the try block, so here the program, terminated gracefully. Error, can't find a file for reading. But here you are not getting, any such thing. So just like with, a reading file, when you are writing the file also, you can, write, exception handling related code. Let me give you a demonstration of that also. Now what we will do, try, let's say fh is equal to open my demo file for writing, and fh dot write hello, and then accept IO error, print error file opening, else the file successfully, and let's close the file over here also. Close. Now here what we are doing is we are trying to opening a file, my demo file, write mode. Obviously this is my system and I have logged into the system with administrator rights, so I would be able to open this file in write mode, and hello will get written in that file, and after that file must get closed. That means to say if I run this program, I must not encounter this problem, error file opening. Rather I should get this message as output, written content in the file successfully. So let's try to run this program. Okay, so written content in the file successfully. This means that this file, my demo file, might have got created in the current working directory. And if I show you my current working directory, okay, it's not over here, but okay, this message itself says okay, written content in the file successfully. Now let's try to read this file that we have created in the previous code block. So this is my demo file. Now if I replace this over here like with my demo file, now if you run the program, you see hello, the same thing was written in the file. So hello, read the file successfully. This thing was not executed, error can't read. But if I say my demo file 1, the name is wrong. Now in this case the system will say error, can't find the file for reading. So you must use this concept, try, accept, else, and this finally block also when writing it. Let's say any program, not just the file handling or specific programs, but any code which you suspect, which you feel may encounter some few runtime errors. You must put those code blocks inside the try block, and then handle them in the accept part. So because Dr. Mukesh already announced in the beginning that around last 15 minutes we have to reserve for handling your queries. So I'll terminate this session over here. I'll end the session over here from my side, And now I'll wait for your comments, your queries, your questions regarding this topic. So I'll open the chat box, see what kind of queries you have posed. So Bhavya is saying, sir, it is a keyword value error and zero division error. How this system knows it? See, these are already defined, in the exception class. So if you go over here, let's say Python standard error. See this built-in exceptions. So you can see over here, these are the exception, assertion error, attribute error, EOF error. So there are many different types of errors. So all these are defined in exceptions. These are built-in exceptions in the Python system. So not exactly keywords in that sense. So you can go through this document. There are so many kinds of type of error: exception, future warning, syntax error. So these are coming from here. Okay, next we have a question from sir, is level a keyword or an identifier? So in our code block, this level is user defined variable. You can give it any other name. This is not a keyword. This is an identifier or user defined variable, and user defined variables are also an identifier. So this level is an identifier. Ankit Wadhwa is saying, sir, let's suppose we need 5 different type of input, but if we enter any wrong value, then it shows error and we need to input again 5 values. How we make it so that we can continue from what wrong input and need. So here you need to again elaborate what different 5 types you are considering, whether the values, the error exists corresponding to the exception conditions exist corresponding to those 5 different types, and accordingly then you can we can have our own logic to handle those things. But again, what I can say over here is you need to understand the basic idea of exception handling first, that susceptible statements you need to put under the try block, and if you are finding certain troubles with that code, you need to handle them in the except block. And when you are saying you are dealing with 5 different types of inputs, then you also need to tell me then whether you would be getting 5 different kinds of exceptions, errors, or same time. If there are 5 different types of exceptions you are encountering, then you can have 5 exception blocks, and you can handle each of those 5 exceptions in a different way. But if there is only one, there are only 1 or 2 types of exception corresponding to 5 different types of inputs, then you need to devise some other mechanism. So again, we would be needing more input from your side, but definitely we can handle, can write that build that kind of logic for your problem. And Vishakha, we have to write level always while raising the exception. As you no Vishakha, level is just a user defined variable. You can write this entire code without level also. So what changes you need to make then is, okay, let's me demonstrate. So I'll make this statement comment, and inside this exception class I'll simply say pass. Now while raising my exception, I will not pass any level. I will write it like this. Now if I run the program, see, it is simply saying cached invalid level. So this print statement is getting executed. So here you can see, level was redundant. I just demonstrated that how you can pass your own variables to your own exceptions. But otherwise, you can see that over here your program is running fine even without that level. So we have made these statements comment. There is no level. Just while calling the function, we are making use of level. I hope this answered your question, Vishakha. Kalpana, sir, please repeat creating. Okay, sir, in the problem you gave, I got an error. House object has no attribute total cost, but I declared it in the init function. Okay, Saket, I can give you the solution to that problem also. So give me just 30 seconds. So Saket, I'll just show you the solution to that problem, house construction. So this is the solution to that problem. All can see, because I gave this problem yesterday, and I hope that you all have done it. And this is one solution, that this is how we can go toward the solution of this problem. Like in the cement class, I have created CNET method, get cement quantity, set cement quantity, or get cement cost, set cement cost. And this is how we created a different objects. So this is cost for house one, cost for house, cement cost for house one, cement quantity for house one. Similarly, in the same fashion, we created this steel class, and then this wood class. We created wood objects, wood quantity, and wood cost for the house. And this was the makeup of our house class. It is taking three objects: cement, steel, and wood. Okay, so that's how we can. So although I passed this thing, but house, okay, this you can here inherit from, you can inherit these cement, steel, and wood classes as well. So my solution is a little different, but I hope that this might have given you the idea where you are encountering the problem. When you are saying house object has no attribute to total cost, but I declared it in it. So still, if you are facing any problems, trouble, you can share the code with me. I'll see Saket, and then we'll let you know. Then there was one question, sir, please repeat creating your own exception, and what does a raise do? So these things I think pertain to this code actually. So let me explain this code once again. How you can create your own exceptions. See, if you want to create your own exception, then first thing is that you need to create your own exception class, and you need to inherit your exception class from the base exception class. And the same thing I did in this statement. When I write class, my exception, and exception. So I repeat, if you want to create your own exception, you need to create your own exception class, and you need to extend that class from the base exception class, like what I did in these two lines: class, my exception, exception, pass. Now, because you are doing inheritance, and I use that concept of level, so that's why I was specifying these two statements, def underscore underscore init self level, and self level is equal to level. But to begin with, forget this thing. We have simply created our own exception class and inherited it from the exception class. Now, because you are creating your own exception, the meaning must be clear to you, that what kind of problem you want to handle in your class. Because we are simply using pass, we will simply will be raising the application at a particular condition, and the condition I have chosen is if some variable, and I'm taking that variable as level, if that variable is assuming a value less than 1, and in that case I want this exception to be raised. Raising means in that case I want the exception to come into picture. For example, if you consider that a division by 0 exception, when that comes into the picture, when you try to divide a variable with 0. So when you're trying to divide a variable with 0, that divide by 0 exception is getting called. So similarly, you also need to tell when you want your exception to be raised. And I have chosen that when the value of my level variable will go below 1, then in that case system must raise this exception, my exception. So this is the meaning over here, that if level is less than 1, raise my exception. Whenever system will encounter a value of level less than 1, this my exception will be raised, will come into the picture. Compare this with that divide by 0 exception. Whenever you are trying to divide a variable with 0, division by 0 exception is there. Whenever you will encounter a value level, whenever you encounter a level value less than 1, this my exception will get raised. So, and then in order to demonstrate that I intentionally passed a value less than 1, because this was the condition, -9. Now, because -9 is less than 1, okay, this exception will be raised. And when this exception will be raised, because you have put this code inside the try blocks, skeptical code, this will be caught over here, except as error. And this error message will get printed. Now, when this raise my exception object is created, and that object is passed to this error object. And when you will print error, okay, then error, object, the value of error object is printed. That in this case is nothing when you have commented these lines. But if you have really passed this level value over here and you have assigned that level value over here, then this print error will print that error level. So you need to remember the 3 aspects. Creating your own exception class, very simple. Give the name to your exception class and inherit it from the exception. Second is raising your exceptions, means you will bring your exception into the picture on a particular condition. You need to specify the trigger point for your exception, and I have chosen that to be on the basis of value of the level variable. If level is less than 1, in that case I want it to be raised. So this is the second aspect that you need to mention in your program. And third is the actual handling. You need to put this skeptical code, the troublesome code, inside the try block, and if that code is encountering that situation on which you have mentioned the raising of that exception will really then get called, and you will handle it in the exception block. And when exception is raised, exception object can be cached also, like in this case, accept my exception as error, and then you can do certain things with that error object. You can display the value or do other things. I simply printed the error object, and that's it. I hope that now the process of creating your own exception is clear to you. So next. Next question is saying, what does raise do? This I have already explained, sir. What is the use of class? See, class methods are those methods that belongs to class. I explained them, in that lecture also. See, instant methods belong to individual objects. Class methods belong to the entire class. And when I say that a method is class method, that method is belonging to the entire class. In that way, this is also belonging to all the objects. So you can, call the class methods with the help of objects and with the help of class name also. Then attendance form. Okay, so in the starting example, you have written the last statement as print high after the accept block, and when you run the program in the output block, high printed in both the cases when you write integer value as age and when you write any other value. Yes. See, after that high value will always get executed. This is the way, different statements get executed in the Python system. So this is the normal flow of execution. So how to access the text in Beautiful Soup? So as emails are sorted in this, see, now there is a specific logic behind that, so I cannot straightaway answer these questions. We need to develop our own logic, Shrey. It is not easy. Then Saket has also okay, so for coding problem, okay, you can note down my email ID. Saket, because you people are also sharing the code. So you can mail me this code. I try to go through your code. We'll see what kind of error you explain your problem to me, and I try to solve it. Because right now I cannot comment on these problems or how we made function private like in earlier lecture. Sir, how we made functions private? See, I already explained that in Python there are no true private variables or no true, private functions. The only thing that you can do is you can, just begin your variable names with underscore sign, and because the Python system do that name mangling, so that is the only way to, just achieve that near private like functionality. But in true sense, you cannot achieve that, private functionality. You cannot have the private variables or private functions in Python, just like we have the concept of private variables and private functions in C++. So you can note on my email ID. This is sarabjit@pu.ac.in. So whenever I will find time, definitely I'll go through your problems to try to correct, and we'll share the code with you. So this is exactly 11:30 now. We will begin, sharp at 12:30 in the next section. That is about date handling with Python, date and time handling in Python. So in that lecture also we'll try to finish up the things in 1 hour, and then last half an hour we will reserve for handling your queries.
Okay, so I think
let me terminate this.
This is good for participants also, and as per their requirements today, many of their queries has been answered, and in the next session also we will give full half an hour for their queries and problems, so that they can discuss their even programming parts or some errors or some queries regarding their coding. So
Yes.
so I think we should wind up this session now, sir. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
at the next session sharp at 12:30, and all the participants
Clear.
are requested to join back for the next session at 12:25 sharp. So thank you, sir. Sir, you can leave the meeting now.
Okay. Thank you.